Here we go again, another video, another day, and I hope you guys like this, so I'll remind me again. Please subscribe and like. Remember this guy? Like him. Like me. Like yourself. So, today is another video and another gun. And we're going back to the future. So, a future gun from the 50s. What am I talking about? A future gun from the 50s? I am looking away because I'm about to hit a button. Oop, wrong button. I'm talking about this button. There we go. Once more, similar as before. What are we looking at today? We're looking at yet another NEA, Northeastern Arms, Ontario, Canada. This one's in the nice burnt umber, one of my favorite colors. Haven't yet had a chance to match the foregrip. But as you can tell, this one is considerably shorter and it's got a little secret. We'll have a look at the pistol first. Well, it's not a pistol. I guess in America you guys call it an SBR. In Canada it's classified pretty much the same as a pistol. So you got a nice standard little muzzle brake, nothing fancy, something nice and affordable. A little foregrip here. An older front rail with key mod, but it's got the nice on top. I know a lot of people complain about key mods, but I don't run stuff on any of my guns, so I don't really care as long as I can get my foregrip on there. That's all that matters to me. Internals are going to be all mil spec. This is a solid forged aluminum, then CNC'd. The company Northeast Arms, under that name, no longer exists, but it does exist under Black Creek Arms, but they don't make AR-15s anymore. Or at least they don't sell them to the Canadian public if they do. A neat little fact about these guys is I know that their firearms have actually made it over to Afghanistan before the withdrawal, and which is kind of funny because you can own them in Afghanistan, but you can't own them in Canada. So we give these to the Taliban, but not to our own people. And if you think I'm joking, I'm not joking. Well, they went to security forces, but we all know what happens when everyone pulled out. This one's a little bit different than some of the other NEA arms. There you go. Well, that's one factor. But you got your fire and safe. This one doesn't have it engraved on this side for some reason, even though production is nearly identical to the first two I showed you in another video. So why did I build this? Well, I built this because easier to do when you're shouldering the thing than it is on the table. But I always wanted one of these, the venerable MP5. I like the size, I like the idea of what it is. Now the MP5s, this is a dusty one. This is an airsoft MP5. MP5s, as most people know, are chambered primarily in 9mm parabellum. There are always exceptions to every rule. This was designed in the 80s, this was designed in the 50s. And this is, well, they're both prohibited now in Canada, but the AR will probably come back. The MP5 will not be on the Canadian list of firearms that are okay to own because this makes people cry when they see it. It's scary, and nobody likes to be scared. Ironically, though, our police department can use them, but you can't have one for taking to the ranger and doing anything fun with it. If you guys can see the overall length, I'm gonna have to back this one up a little bit. You can actually tell that my AR is shorter than the MP5. Extend it. Extend it. Even extend it. Still shorter. Now I will say the one thing you can probably see, if I slide it this way, is if you compare the length of pull, the MP5 has a slightly longer length of pull. So that's the mentality behind building this. And the fun thing about this is when you get it in your hands and you hold it, most people say the same thing. It feels like you're holding a Tommy gun, and it really does feel like a Tommy gun. The furniture on here is, like I said, the foregrip here, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, it came off eBay. Same thing with the front guard came off eBay. I think the foregrip came off eBay, and I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that came off eBay as well. I might have picked it up in the States somewhere. But it's just a nice round grip with a little bit of storage in the butt there. The function of the sliding mechanism is straightforward. Locks in place. There is not different positions for different lengths. It's one size fits all. But weirdly enough, you'd think it would lock in place there, but it doesn't, which is fine by me. It's got enough tension to hold it in place. It's not going to flop around on you. Going back to the obvious special side of this, we'll start with the outside first. So this buttstock is an NEA product, Northeastern Arms. I'm pretty sure they're not making any more. All in all, it would be a very expensive rifle to build, except for the fact that when they were going out of business, they just did a fire sale and just dumped all their products so fast, so cheap. This ended up being a budget build, despite the fact that it's one of the higher quality manufacturers I think I've ever seen for an AR-15. So there's a couple of things about this stock that's interesting. You can see this is a solid piece of aluminum. It's the mechanism that holds everything in place. Your buffer tube rides through the middle of that, and you just tighten it down by hand. You can use a little wrench or something like that with some rubber to get you a bit of snug, but there's no staking, there's nothing like that. So it makes it convenient to build, it makes it convenient to take apart. I haven't had it shot it enough to know whether or not it's going to stay together, because I did something funny to this that's making it a little more difficult than average. So in order to get into the inside of this, which we'll do right now, is we got to retract the stock or else your pin's not going to come out. Also stops you from using extended pin, which is kind of unfortunate, but it is what it is. No whining, no... Actually, I'm going to leave that front one in place for a reason. I'm just going to grab a little punch here. Once again, mil-spec parts. Well, actually, no, I have to take the front part out. The reason why is because the way this has been modified. It doesn't... You can't shotgun this anymore, unfortunately. You have to disassemble it like so. And I don't know about the Honey Badger, but essentially it's the same kind of idea as a Honey Badger, that short AR-15. Once more, I have modified this trigger group quite a bit. It's still mil-spec, but I've changed it to a 2-stage trigger. But once, as we're getting started, you can already tell that that's a shorter buffer tube and has a special buffer spring. It has a modified bolt carrier with the buffer built in the back and the weights, as you can hear. Roll pin holding in place so you can change the weights if necessary. But if you take a look at that there, that's kind of a dead giveaway. There's something funny going on. This rifle is chambered in 7.62 by 3.9 with a 7.5-inch barrel. The bolt face is interchangeable with a standard AR-15, so I could take that out, put it back in a 223, and I do have a 7.5-inch barrel for 300 Blackout, which would be a much more practical rifle in the US. Suppressors are completely prohibited again in Canada. They have been for a long time, so running an expensive subsonic round like 300 Blackout for me doesn't make sense, but it's doable, and I have the barrel for it, and maybe someday if this thing doesn't feed right, I'll just throw it into a 300 Blackout, or maybe just the standard 76, or sorry, the 223. That is not a lot. This sucker, I call my Spitfire because she spits fire, and as Kentucky Ballistic says, she be kicking, and she has really strong recoil. Out of all the firearms I own, this one is by far the hardest kicking. I'll show you a little quick, not very high quality, but it's the only footage I have of me firing this. Some of you may have seen it as a quick short on my website, but that big fireball coming out of this, coming in out of here, or on the video, is coming out of this thing. And this thing kicks so hard the first time I fired it, it recoiled so much that it hit my hearing protection and knocked the hearing protection completely off my head. And put it this way, the sound had not mitigated enough that it hurt. It hurt physically getting kicked in the face, and it hurt my ears just the sound alone. But it is an NEA barrel as well, So this gun has a lot more Northeastern Arms parts on it, or Black Creek Labs if you prefer. Problem I'm having with it more than anything is it doesn't pick up the next round and feed it. It will, if you pull all the way back, charge it all the way back, let it go, it will pick up the round, fire it, eject that round, but failure to feed the next round. And when you're at the range, you don't have a lot of time to mess around. You don't have the tools on hand, so I never had a time to diagnose the problem. It does have the standard. It could be the standard issue with these guys here is the magwell. Is a Stenag magwell built for 223. Once more, I'll go over the rules in Canada. We are limited to 5 rounds unless it's a pistol round. So most people will use a AR-15 magazine in their AR-15, and the AR-15 do make a 7.62 by 3.9. That's what I was using here, so it only holds 10 rounds. It doesn't seem to be a stacking issue. It could be, I'm guessing, a feed lip issue, or quite possibly the shortened buffer tube here isn't allowing the bolt carrier to travel far enough back and pick up the next round. When we get the laws changed and we're allowed to actually go take this back to the ranks, I'm not even legally allowed to shoot this. I mean, some people will go to say as far you're not even legally allowed to take it out of your gun safe. Let's go to the trigger, shall we? The trigger is semi-auto, so obviously trigger pull back, reset. This one is ouch, hit my finger. This one has lightened springs on it, so detonation's not a problem. Sometimes that happens when you put lighter springs. So it's got a fairly good trigger pull. We'll test that in a minute. But what happens is with this, like the other ones, you hit a wall, and then, I mean, you're at that wall. There's nothing left. I like this kind of trigger myself. I'm into more precision, but I guess in a smaller rifle like this, you probably want to, mag dump a little more quickly. But regardless, I like it. There's other things you can do to modify these. Obviously, everyone knows AR-15 triggers are probably one of the most highly aftermarket products when it comes to firearms you can get. But for curiosity, who wants to see the actual trigger pull? Because I do. Wink. There we go. That didn't take any time, did it? So set this to 0, and let's find out. Okay, that's not right. It's not 6-pound trigger, I can tell you that. Something. Let's try that again. Actually, maybe it is a 6-pound trigger. Doesn't feel it though. Yeah, 6 pounds on the dot. Who knew? Feels a lot lighter. Let me try that again. Actually, now I'm curious. Does that actually feel like a 6-pound trigger? Hit the wall. I don't know. It doesn't feel 6 pound, but one thing I've also done, because I did lighten the springs in this, is I bobbed the hammer. If you look at a standard hammer, and a sneak preview, standard hammer should look like that. Have that little bit hanging off there. Good for mass under a full hammer spring. That's what you want. But there's a weird thing in physics: mass times velocity squared equals force. So a lighter hammer moving at a faster speed will potentially even have more force. We kind of know it with the bullets, right? A 223 does a lot of damage, and a 308 does a lot of damage, but they do it in 2 separate ways. One does it through speed and velocity, the other does it through mass. In this case, it's delivering all the energy I need to the firing pin through velocity as opposed to mass. That's the basics of it. When it comes to why you want to bob a hammer, it logically seems you want a lighter hammer on a heavier spring because you don't need such a heavy hammer. But the reality is this will accelerate a lot quicker and gain more energy in the process. Moving on. What do I have to say about this? It's fun. It's small. It's completely impractical in Canada. And it hurts. That's the way I describe it, but it's a lot of fun. Some people like recoil. I love recoil. I've never got enough. Oftentimes after coming back from the range, I'll have a bloody shoulder because I'm a fair-headed, round-faced redhead, and yeah, my shoulder skin is particularly delicate. Well, all my skin's delicate, but yeah, I'll break blood vessels and bleed by the end of the day just from firing magnum slugs and stuff like that. I'll live no bruising, so figure that one out. Okay, I'm going to end this video here, and I'm going to move on to do another quick one of that white lower I just showed you, and talk about my plans for that, and that will be more of a product review than anything. NEA, like I said in the previous video, I would really like to get up to Black Creek Arms and have an interview / little tour if they're willing, and maybe take a look at some of their upcoming products and some of their current products. Current products, I'm sure I can probably talk my way into a local gun store and show off some of the stuff. But as for test firing, that's just not easy here in Canada. It's not easy in Toronto. I mean, anybody who lives in a big city, US or Canada, knows you can't just go around test firing guns. So, once more, guys, please like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Have a great day.